So it's Thursday the 16th. I never want to trade like this again. I'm sad about a winning day. The only thing that saved me was damage control. You should feel like you're never gonna make it. And I'm not referring to profit, I'm referring to all the mental capital I felt like I built for the last 2 weeks. Just gone.
The last 2 weeks, I felt like my trading has really turned a corner. But I felt like as I turned that corner, I ran into a whole heap of other problems. In this video, I'll be recapping the last 2 weeks of my trading and breaking down 2 trades that perfectly capture how my trading is going at the moment. These will include what I saw, what I missed, and what I need to fix to improve as a trader. So I started this fortnight with $1,758.77 and I ended it on $1,853.37. So this is after the monthly deductions of fees as well. So let's go ahead and actually look at TradeZella here so we can actually see where these numbers came from. So the week starting over here of the 5th of October was the first week that I started trading the adjusted strategy. What I mean by this is instead of focusing my entries on the 2-minute, I now adjusted to focus mainly on the 5-minute. I still use the 30-minute and 2-minute for certain areas or to guide, but I guess solely focus on the 5-minute when it comes to entering the trade. And as you can see, it made a huge impact. I had the biggest week that I have had so far at $229. If I actually pop back and have a look, I have not had a week bigger than that yet. My biggest week to this point was only $73. So huge improvement. I'm really happy to see that number, and it just really solidified that I made the right changes and adjustments to my strategy. And it kind of feels quite funny because I feel like a lot of people were commenting focus on the 5-minute, focus on the 5-minute, and I was just being a bit stubborn because of certain things that I was thinking. But I feel like this just teaches us not to be so stubborn when it comes to trading. Sometimes you have to try different things or really face the facts and really look at the numbers and look at your journal to work that out, which I did, and it paid off, as we can see for the first week. Now, there was a lot of nerves to go into it. My mental capital, as you guys are aware, were quite low, simply because of all the losing so far and having to journal it and put it out there. It takes a toll on you. So I was very nervous to see the outcome of this trade, especially since I just posted my last video kind of discussing what that change was. That was a lot to put out there to then possibly post this week and it just be losing and that change not work. So it was definitely nerve-wracking, to say the least. So the second week, there's a lot to break down in this week.
A harder losing day to accept because I've been winning, that I just didn't want to let go of those winning days, which I know is very silly of me. And I just even find myself staying up just waiting for a setup just so I can say it's a green day, and it's just obviously not the way to do things, because then I'm just going to end up waking up tired and just probably trading worse tomorrow. So I'm calling it quits, but I definitely feel like I'm getting the hang of my strategy. I'm still feeling positive about that. I think I just need to focus more on my overall bias, what that is, and if that's the case, if I am going against that, taking that to R, because I found so many of my trades went just before 2R and I didn't take profit. They went break even, so that's why it wasn't so much of a losing day necessarily. It was, basically break even, I guess. But I definitely feel like it could have been a positive day if I just played it differently.
But one thing that I want to discuss was there was a lot of damage control. So I was trying to take a lot more break-even trades rather than letting them go as a loss, which is great. I think it definitely helped this week not to be such a huge loss. But I think what actually hurt me was not taking profits when I should have. So some of those trades that went to break even went to 2R and I didn't take the profit, and then it went back to break even or a small win. And although we can look at this as damage control, what it actually did was, I think I looked at a day and it actually said that the day could have been up like $600. I think This is what's really, really good about TradeZella. So you can actually see here, it says left money on the table. You could have made $645 more today if you maximized your exits. So basically review your entries and exits. And I was in shock when I read that. This is why TradeZella is so good, guys. If you want to try it out, click the link below, use the code Novice10 because it is such an amazing software. The fact that it prompted me that, I already felt that really, but just for it to tell me that, like, I really, really needed to hear it. So I feel like although it felt like damage control having a lot of break-even trades, which again is good for some of those trades, but for some of those trades, I should have just taken that profit, right? So I just want to actually show you a few trades when it comes to me letting profit go back when I'm scalping against the longer term time frame, because it happens a lot. So for example, this trade, we ended up with $6 profit, but at one point we were up $60. Honestly, that's probably one of the better off ones. If we have a look at this one, we came out at $13, but at one point we were up $78. Let's have a look at some of the, I guess, really obvious ones. So like this one, I came out with $9.50, but I was up 116 at one point. So that's absolutely crazy, just giving back so much profit. This one came out with $18, but at one point I was up $95. So I risked $50 a trade. So a lot of these trades are almost 2R or over 1R, and I could just take that profit as a quick win to help build my capital. I could just see it as a cash flow trade, right? To make those bigger moves that are actually towards the long-term bias that I have. And that's what I really need to work on this week. What I do want to mention while we're talking just as an overview of the week is Thursday. So I overtraded so much. I cannot remember the last time I traded or overtraded, should I say, this badly.
Honestly, this whole session started terribly. I went to short when I first came into the market, and instantly price just moved very radically against me, and I think that just like had me in shock for the rest of the trading session, and it caused me to go until I don't know. I never want to trade like this ever again. I never want to feel like this ever again. The worst part about it is I started the night terribly, but then I ended it, well, halfway through I got the week back to positive, and I was like, that was like at the end of my trading session, and I just still kept going because I didn't want it to be a losing day. And I feel like, you know, when you start having decent winning days, you think it's all going to get better from there, but I feel like then you get scared to lose even more. Like I'm just dreading all the time I'll have to spend to journal like the 13 trades that I took.
And the crazy part is I took a bad trade at the beginning and it slipped due to just huge amounts of volume out of nowhere. So that was fine, but it kind of shocked me a little bit. And because I was already irritable this day and I wasn't feeling good, it just, I guess, shook me, and I just kind of spiraled from there. And for whatever reason, I wasn't able to walk away. And I just want to talk about this for a second because I feel like when you have green days, it's great. Like all you want as a trader or a new trader, all you want to do is just have green days and have green weeks and feel good about that. But what I felt happened was because I was getting green days, I just wasn't able to accept those losing days as easily because I was like, no, this can't be a losing day. It needs to be a winning day like I have been. You kind of set that expectation for yourself. And that was kind of my downfall on that day, as you can see here. So the crazy thing is I re-looked at this day and there were so many trades that I could have taken and that it could have been a good day, but it just blew out of control for a few different reasons, which I will be getting into because there's some major things that I need to work on to help this new adjusted strategy really perform at its best. So we'll get into that. All right, so this is the first trade that I want to go through on this recap. We're up $209 here. So we made just under 4R on this trade. Now, before I go through the chart, I want to pop down and actually go through the notes that I have here. So I've said price came off a 50% 30-minute recently and hit a 50% 5-minute with volume and tape to confirm. Entry and exit was great due to how wide the spread was. I had my stop based on a 2-minute low 5-minute was way too far away. So I actually used the 2-minute low here because I truly felt that it was a really good trade, but it was just such a clear leg that I couldn't quite get the low. Now you could have, I guess, considered this as a 5-minute low as well from that candle there, but yeah, regardless, that's where my stop was, and that's why I placed it there. Slightly emotional because I missed a trade coming off the 30-minute level. So I'll get into that in just a moment. So the lesson that I learned is that if I miss the 30-minute 50% setup, I may get another opportunity on the 5-minute as we did here. So I was quite upset that I missed a trade opportunity because I just sat down at my desk and I didn't want to just trade out of, take that trade just because out of FOMO. I waited, and I was so happy I waited because I got that next opportunity. So I really wanted to note that here, so I know for next time that if that happens again, just be patient, wait for that another setup, and it should come, and then take that setup there. So let's actually break down the chart here. If we pop on the 30-minute time frame, we can see we had this nice move up here. Now, I did have a long bias for the session for a few different reasons. So we had obviously this nice push up. We had a gap, which means quite strong movement. But if I put a 50% markup on this leg, so the down leg, we had already leaked past the 50%. So it indicated to me that we might move higher for at least a little bit after that point. So as you can see here, we've got that 30-minute leg, and we're pulled back to a 30-minute 50% level, right? And when I was on the 5-minute time frame, there was a setup here, okay? So basically the setup we want to see on volume is dropping volume and it to spike at the entry point, which it did here, okay? And we want to see basically sellers be absorbed and buyers step in on the tape, right? And that's what happened here. But again, I was just at my chart at that point in time, so I didn't take that trade. So I was really upset that I missed the opportunity there, but I waited. Okay, we had a nice 5-minute leg, so I've drawn up another 50% level. And as our strategy shows here, as it pops down, we actually see dropping volume and it spike on the down candle at our level. And again, sellers absorb and buyers hopefully step in. And in this case, it did. And it was a beautiful trade. I also exited really, really accurately there, which is absolutely amazing. If you guys want to know a little bit more about my strategy and I guess the way I read the tape to kind of give you more insight on I guess these recaps, please leave a comment below because I really want to know if you guys want those types of videos or not. All right, so the second trade that we want to go through was a $52 loss, which is basically 1R loss on this trade. We'll go through the comments and then we'll go through the chart again. So I've said not the best setup to be trading because we just respected a 50% level in a higher time frame bias direction. Entry was okay, stop not followed because was no clear place to put the stop. This should have been another signal to not take the trade. So I've noticed multiple times in the past, if there's not a very clear space to put my stop, I shouldn't be taking that trade because it means that there's no resistance, right, to that level. So again, it's something that I need to keep in mind. My emotions were frantic. This was because this night was very up and down. It was chaotic. There was a lot of overtrading. My lesson learned, I need to take my daily bias into consideration and always think probability. So I want to break up what I mean here because I think it's very important. So if we come on the chart here, we can see a few different things, okay? So I actually want to start from the 30-minute just so I can explain kind of my thinking around, I guess, the price action, all of that good stuff. So price had essentially made a move up on the 30-minute, as you can see here, and has dropped down to a 50% level and continued, okay? And it's done the same again here. So if we actually have a look here, move it to a measured move, my thoughts are that we could possibly see it go to about 25,200, right? That is kind of my long bias for the session based on that, okay? So that's why I have that there. All right, so now as I drop down to the 5-minute time frame, what I'm doing is I'm looking for legs to find my entry, right? And that's what I should be doing, right? Based on that long time bias, okay? And as you can see here, we had a nice push up over here. So as you can see, we had a nice push up, we've hit a 50% level and we've continued, Okay, it tested it a few times, but regardless, it continued. We had another leg up. We've had price come down and it's tested that 50%. It's actually tested again and continued. So you can see price is slightly weak, but it's still respecting those levels in some sort of way. But what I'm referring to, I guess, in this trade is we had this nice leg up, the push down, it respected this level, but I was trying to short on a 50% level here. But that was against my, I guess, high time frame bias or long-term bias, right, that I had for the day. And what I'm starting to realize with my trading is I need to think very binary when it comes to my trading. So what I mean by this, and to explain it further based on my strategy, is if I have a long bias, okay, for the session, let's say, then I need to be taking 50% trades on the long side, right? I shouldn't be taking them on the short side. And that's because there shouldn't be much movement from a 50% level on the short side if I've got a longer term bias, right? I still believe I can still go short in some circumstances. For example, when I'm trading my reversion strategy, because I have a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to that movement. And I also need to think, if I'm going against the long term, I need to be scalping. So getting out at 2R, getting out basically at very quick profits. Don't try and hold. You're getting out at that 2R or instantly as soon as you kind of have that decent profit and you've kind of had the move you were expecting of some sort, right? Whereas if you're going obviously towards the long-term direction, then you'll be holding that trade, or at least trying to, based on what you're seeing on the chart. Again, always trade what you see, not what you want to happen, but you're still kind of knowing that maybe you should hold this because that is your high time frame bias that you've got, is that it is going long, right? Because that means you're going to get a bigger move, right, to that direction. So I need to do that a lot better, and I just feel like I'm not quite thinking like that in my trading sessions at the moment. And there's a few reasons. Obviously, I've just done that change with my strategy. I've adjusted that, so I can't be too harsh on myself. Again, like, this fortnight recap is still a very positive recap. We're still up in the account and I still feel that it's a very positive change. There's just some things that I need to work on to refine it to really become profitable, right? So the things that I'm going to try and improve this coming fortnight is 1, binary thoughts. So approaching my trading session with the long-term bias in mind and approaching it with binary thoughts to make sure I'm maximizing my trades. Number 2 is kind of a side link to that, but it's only trading reversion strategies when it's against that high time frame bias, and trading the 50% when it's, I guess, with the long-term bias, right? So this should help me maximize on the really big wins, but still maximize on those little scalp trades that I can take in between when I do get those signals. Number 3 is actually waiting for buyers to step in. Sometimes in some of my trades, I get a little bit impatient and I jump in too quickly as soon as I see sellers absorbed at my level, rather than kind of waiting it out and seeing them step in. This should help me avoid those trades that simply just don't work out. All right, so that's my trading for the fortnight. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I would love to hear your comments down below on what you guys think with the change and the adjustment of the strategy, your opinion on how I'm trading at the moment. And also, if you want to try out TradeZella, obviously you can see I use it a lot with, you know, working out how much I could have maximized on the trades that I haven't been. Like, you can see I absolutely love this software. So if you do want to try it out yourself, click the link below, use the code NOVICE10 to get 10% off your first year on your trading journal. And guys, it's a must have. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.
I know I can trade well. That's the thing. After changing my strategy, I know I have it in me to trade well.